Good.
All right, so for assignment 4.1,
Yeah.
I'm going to go back and look at a way to do this, starting out with pencil and paper versus what 98% of the class does. And that is they jump right into typing and are not really sure what's going on.
Yeah.
So taking a look at what I have here, I know for this problem, I want to get three values. Okay, I
Yeah.
need to know what the pay is. And I think if we go with the pay being 2 cents on the first day, that's
Right.
fine. And say I want to run this for 3 days, and we have the multiplier of 4. So in
Right.
a little bit, I'm going to come back to this guy being my input and talk a little bit more about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Next thing I want to take a look at is, well, what would the output look like? So if I can't create what the output looks like and do the math, then I'm stuck. So I need to really understand what's going on. So according to this, it's 3 days, 1 day, 2 day, 3 day. I know I want a heading up top. I know I want something called total pay at the end.
Right.
And I'm still putting this together. So the pay on the first day was 2 cents. I know I'm going to multiply it by 4, which is going to get me to 8 cents.
Yeah.
I'm going to multiply that by 4 to get me to 32 cents.
Exactly.
And I'm going to need this thing called an accumulator to add as I go through my program. Okay.
Yeah.
And when I add this up, I know these were all supposed to be cents, and my total pay was supposed to be dollars.
Dollars. Yeah.
So I'm looking at something like that. So now I have an idea of what my output should look like.
Of
I have
course.
an idea of what my input should look like.
Right.
So I'm still not getting ready to type. I want to make sure I know what all's going on. So the first thing I wanted to do was input pay, and I'm going to keep it as pay. I wanted to input days.
Hmm.
And what I'm doing here is something called pseudocode, where
Yes.
it's not really programming like if I was sitting at my machine typing, but it's me getting the layout straight in my head of how I want to do this. And finally, I want to input the multiplier.
Right.
A
That's
couple
one
of
of the big
thoughts that are
issues.
going through my head right now. These are all cents. And when I look at them, I'm just going to make a note that I want the data type of an integer. I want to be working with integers.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first part of my program is in fact this input, input big section. The second part is going to be my processing. This is where I'm going to do all the work. And then finally at the very end, I'm going to have output
Right.
and well, output. And right now, as I'm thinking about my output, I know I want to do this in one message box.
Yes.
So in order to do it in one message box, I want to have that blah, 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 parentheses, null, parentheses, one
Exactly.
thing. And that one thing I'm going to have is a string, and I'm going to call that string outstra. Okay. This
Yeah.
is going to be a string data type.
Okay.
Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take outstra in the very beginning, and I'm going to start it out as nothing. There's nothing in there.
Yeah.
All right. Now my processing, let's see what steps did I have to do for this. Okay, so I have my input, I have outstra. First thing I want to do is add headings to outstra. And of course, I can redo this over and over and over and over. But when
Right.
I wanted to do my problem, first thing I wanted to do was have this kind of heading.
Of
Okay?
course.
This looks like steps that are being repeated. And that's what chapter 4 is all about. It's about a loop. So I want to be able to loop 3 times, and I want to be adding stuff to my outstra inside the loop. And then when I come out of the loop, I want to add total pay. So when I come inside of this processing, up here, again, I'm taking this, it was just a note. I might do something like outstra equals outstra, whatever's in there, because I want to keep adding to it. Plus, and now I might do something like day, and then a whole bunch of spaces and pay.
Exactly in pay. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So that gets me going with that. All right. The next thing I want to do is I want to have a loop. And I need my loop to run 3 times. Well, it looks like I have a variable day that's going to help me with that. So I'm going to have a for loop, for counter, equals 1. We want to start to there. Counter is less than or equal to days.
Yeah.
Okay, and then counter plus plus. So now I'm going to do a whole bunch of work inside of this. This is like my second step. I'm adding all those middle lines. And finally, when I come out of the loop, I'm going to have the third step where I'm going to add total pay.
Yeah.
All right, so inside my loop, I'm thinking I want to print out on day 1, the 1. Okay. And here's where I'm going to get that from. Let me keep readjusting here. I'm sorry. I'm going to get that from counter. So I want to take that outstra, my output string.
Yes.
And I'm going to say out string plus, and what do I want to add to it? Well, I want to add the counter, which is going to be my 1, 2, and 3 each
Exactly.
time.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. And then maybe some spaces. And then I want to add to it whatever my pennies are at the current time. So right now, my pennies are whatever pay is. And we're going to change these two. Well, counter is going to change itself as we go through this loop. Pay, we're going to keep updating. Okay, so I got paid 2 cents on the first day. I'm going to have a variable called tot pay. And I'm going to say I want to keep adding whatever it is to the total pay. So I'm going to add pay. So I added to my output string. I added to my total pay.
Yeah.
Now I need to update counter, which is going to do that all by itself.
Itself, yeah.
But I also need to update pay. So the next time around, instead of being 2, like I have up here, my next time through the loop, I want it to be 8. So what will I do? I'll take pay and say, I want to multiply it by the multiplier.
Yeah, if you can move it up a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
There we go. So I come into the loop. It's going to run 3 times. So in my out string, this will be the 1, then the 2, then the 3 as I loop around the loop. I come in. This is my pay. My pay is 2. I know I want to add it to total pay. And then I want to update pay for the next time around so that it goes from 2 to 8 to 32. Then my final step in the processing is I have total pay. But if I added all those together, right now, total pay is going to equal the 2 plus the 8 plus 32, which is going to add together to give me 42.
42, yeah.
But remember, with my total pay, what did I want? Well, I wanted it as a decimal. So one of the things I'll do outside my loop is I'll say, okay, total pay, let's see, equals total pay divided by 100.
100, yeah.
Yeah, so I can turn it into that. And then before I get to my output, this is still in my processing. Sorry, I ran out of room. But I'd like to have one more line in there to add this total pay to that output.
Total pay, of course.
Yeah. So I did a whole bunch of scribbling and note taking, a little bit of math over here on the side, talked about my input. One of these needs to be a bad data check. You can refine that as you go. But I needed to scratch it all out in paper so that it makes sense to me. Now, when I go to type it, the code should be easy to type.
Easy to type. That's right. That's right.
Getting all this logic down is what's important first.
Yeah, like I was very surprised because when I put, the multiply and it show everything on my screen, but I don't know. So that's why I get trouble. And that, like,